Hi, hello, welcome back to another Creepypasta Storytime video. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the last video I created. I think that was, the Tollman. That story was honestly really good. Videos like that, the more I talk, the more my voice just gives out. Because I try not to take drinks in between reading, because this is all one-take video. If you're new to the channel, all my videos are usually one take, outside of my shorts where I'm just playing video games. So, if you do hear my voice kind of soften a little bit, I am running on fumes. But yeah. So creepypasta today is going to be Nina the Killer. And hopefully I said that correct. I think it is Nina. But before we get into the video, I do want to say, first off, thank you for clicking on the video. Second, please use code GOONS over at gamersubs.gg. You get 10% off any purchase. And one more thing before we get into the video. As previously mentioned, this is all one take. So if you hear me stumble, mumble, mess up some words, and all that good stuff, I'm sorry. This is the best with what I can do with the hardware that I have, because I am broke and I don't have a PC to edit videos. But also with that, I do have a link down below if you want to donate. Any contribution is grateful. Any contributions will be greatly appreciated. You do not have to do it though. Just you click on this video helps me out a lot. So thank you for being here. Okay, outside of that, let's get into it. Let me get the music going. I don't know how many of you guys enjoyed the music, but I'm trying to add something unique to the video. So yeah, let's get into it. Nina the Killer. I heard recently that there's a new killer. I was surprised when I heard it for the first time. I first thought that it was just a crazy fan of Jeff the Killer because of her appearance, but after doing a thorough investigation of her, I discovered that it was worse than a monster. Things didn't go well after that. I read it from a local newspaper. Strange and unexplained murders have increased for several months. They investigated the suspect was a killer. The investigators found a witness who said that it's not only one killer, but two killers. It said that both of them are attacking different cities, and it is still unknown if they work together or separately. But luckily, I was able to find another witness from the hospital, and he told me what happened. Here's what the witness said. It happened one night, the guy narrated. I was walking from my work to home, and I was alone in the streets. Then I decided to take a shortcut because I wanted to get home quickly. But it was a big mistake. When I was already halfway to my home, I began to feel that I was being watched, and I heard footsteps. I turned quickly, making sure that a thief was not following me, but I found nothing. So I just thought that it was just my imagination. I continued walking, but the feeling of being watched became stronger, and I heard footsteps close. I noticed something approaching, then suddenly I saw a black-haired girl with a magenta streak in her hair. She looks like 16 or 17. Though her face did not look like a human, her skin was very pale, and her eyes looked at me with a thirst for blood. She had eyes that were very wide, and with a strange, disturbing look. Her smile was so dark, and I was afraid. I stood still for a minute, and I felt great fear running through my body. She didn't say any words. She just stood there for what seemed like an eternity, and finally, the girl just gave a speech as she moved her head to one side in a way that a psychopath could do. I immediately felt nervous. Go to sleep, my prince. Then I quickly run to the opposite direction. I ran as fast as I can, but it was not enough and she was too fast. Then I suddenly feel her dark presence, followed by a sharp stab through my arm. I fell to the ground with a groan of pain, and then she released a hysterical laugh. She used her knife and stabbed it into my shoulder. She managed to slice off my shirt, making my stomach bleed. But luckily, I heard the voice of a policeman who had come. He was holding a gun. But the girl just smiled to it, and the police fired several bullets in her direction. But the girl avoided it rapidly, and she ran quickly while laughing. I saw her climbing one of the houses, then she disappeared. I was never able to forget that face, let alone that laugh. After my interview with him, the young man was found dead in his house. His body was chopped into pieces, and it was full of blood everywhere. And the room where the body was found, on the wall was found written with blood that said, "You didn't go to sleep, my prince." So, that was the first part of the story. So, me reading it, I honestly thought that I was just reading it wrong, but that's just how it's written. So, if you hear me I put the words that will fit in my head, but, it's weird how the first part is written. So now we're going to move on to the origin of Nina the Killer. So, Nina Hopkins is an 11-year-old who transferred to a new school so that she could be closer to her home. One Sunday morning, a day before her first day at her new school, she woke up and went to the bathroom and brushed her teeth. She went back to her bed and took her laptop to connect to the Wi-Fi. Nina was not the type of girl that is very cheerful. She was not the type of girl that would open the window and let the light into her room and do something productive. No. She just enjoyed sitting down to watch anime or listen to music like rock, J-pop, or even K-pop. Playing video games or just playing guitar. So she liked to be herself and loved her family and friends. But this time she did not want to do any of these things that is considered normal. This time she wanted to read Jeff the Killer Creepypasta for the 1000th time. She adored him. It was her favorite, and she felt a strange attraction to him. She had an admiration for him more than anything. Every time she read it, she felt a strange desire, but she didn't know why she enjoyed this strange desire. When she started to read it, the door suddenly opened. She quickly saw her little brother Chris and his beautiful green eyes. Nina thinks Chris is her prince, and she loved calling her little brother Prince because when she was just little, her mother would always tell her fairy tales when it's bedtime. She liked this type of stories, and she thinks the princes in the fairy tales look like her little brother Chris. Chris has dark black hair, fair skin, and light green eyes, like his late father. However, Nina has light brown hair, fair skin, and light blue eyes, like her mother. "Sis, it's time to eat," said the child with an innocent smile. "I'm going, my prince." She pinched the cheeks of her little brother. She left my laptop on the bed and went to eat. The next morning, Nina and Chris went to school. Nina got up and dressed in a shirt that was her favorite, and she took her bag. She felt something strange, like a strange desire. She did a strange little smile that formed on her mouth. Suddenly, she heard her mother's voice and she was in the reality again. And she immediately took the bag and she completely ignored what happened. She quickly went downstairs. "Are you both ready for school?" asked the mother. "Yes," they both responded. "Well, good luck in school." And her mother went back to the kitchen. "Bye, Mom," they both responded. They walked to the school because Nina thinks taking a bus is annoying. They both went their separate ways. Nina went to the high school, while her little brother went to elementary school. Nina didn't really like attending classes because she thinks it's boring. When the siblings finished taking classes, they both decided to find a quiet place to eat without having to worry that students are playing around them. So she found a garden behind the school where there were no people. There were no teachers and no students. They both sat and ate, thinking they would have a peaceful breakfast, but they heard footsteps. Nina looked up and met a girl much older than her, and she had black hair. Well, what we have here? New students," announced the girl. "My name is Claudia, and I rule at the school. And if you do not obey what I say, you will suffer," she said as she pulled out a knife from her jeans. Then suddenly 2 guys came out from a nearby tree. They were known as Malcolm and Yoni. Nina sat up quickly and stood in front of Chris to protect them. Hey, we don't want any trouble. We just want a peaceful breakfast, Nina clarified. Ah, I see, but you shouldn't be here. This area is ours, Claudia said as she approached him. That's stupid. You have no right to make us go away from here, said Chris while confronting Claudia, but Yoni punched him in the stomach. Chris collapsed, but Nina quickly held him. Chris, said Nina while holding in her arms. Well, if you don't want to be next, I recommend you to obey and get out of here, claimed Claudia while pointing to Nina's face with a knife. Nina did nothing but punch Claudia's face. Claudia collapsed to the ground, and Nina took Claudia's knife and stabbed her in the shoulder. Then Nina gave a strong kick on the crotch of Malcolm. He quickly fell down to the ground, but Nina didn't stop. She quickly released several kicks in the boy's face. The boy's face was now full of wounds and blisters, and he had a nosebleed. Yoni became frightened immediately when he saw how Nina attacked Claudia and Malcolm. He started to run away from her, but Nina immediately noticed it and she quickly ran to him. She used Claudia's knife and she quickly lunged at the boy, targeting his stomach. Nina! She heard the voice of her little brother. Nina immediately turned to him, and she got confused as to why his little brother had a very surprised look on his face. As to why... Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'll talk about it more later on. Nina decided to let Yoni go and step back. She looked at her blood-stained hands and she felt like a monster, but she had to admit that her killer side was extremely good. She turned back to her brother, and her brother was surprised at what he saw. He was shocked at what he saw. Nina ran to him and took his arm. Come on, we can't stay here for long. We can't stay here for so long, I said. Then we left the garden. After that, Nina went to wash her hands, and she knew she must avoid telling somebody or even mentioning what happened. Her little brother Chris thought it was just self-defense, but she knew something else was going on here. She knew that something stronger and horrible was starting to form inside her. That feeling of being powerful and strong, and it's the need to hurt someone. The day passed quickly, and when the siblings returned, they sat down to eat with their mother. Well, how was school? Asked his mother with a sweet smile. Chris stayed quiet and didn't answer the question. Great, Nina commented with a psychotic smile. Nina went upstairs after eating and opened her closet, revealing her collection of Jeff the Killer. She has several posters of Jeff. She has clothing related to Jeff. She has some notebooks related to Jeff, some Jeff dolls, and even a Jeff stuffed animal. She took a doll from her closet and put it in her bed. She looked at the doll, and she couldn't tell if the doll's sinister smile intimidated her or amused her. Then she whispered, Jeff, you made me do this. After the incident, Malcolm and Claudia were found unconscious, but they didn't find the culprit. They also had no idea that Nina was the one who did it, an 11-year-old. So she had an advantage to avoid suspicion. And since it happened on the first day of school, many couldn't tell if Nina was there because a lot of people didn't know much when it comes to the new students. And it didn't gain much attention. Also, a lot of students didn't know whether it happened on the first day of school or not. One day, Nina opened her locker. She found a note which said, I know what you did, but don't worry. I will not tell anyone. You are very skillful, but also very dangerous. Nina didn't find a signature or anything to identify who wrote the note, but she had known that someone saw her but decided not to reveal his name. Meanwhile, Nina's sanity didn't improve, and she took a knife in the kitchen and hid it in her pocket while sleeping in a room with her brother and mother. One day when Chris was playing with his new friends in a park, Nina's mother, whose name is Monica, noticed that it was getting dark, so she asked her daughter to tell her brother that they are going home now. Nina went to look for her brother, but she didn't see her little brother. She became worried, and so she went over to Chris's friends and asked them where her little brother was. They responded that a black-haired girl took him. Nina became very worried and went home to take the knife in her room that she hid so the mother wouldn't find it. Nina spent a long time finding him. She was getting desperate, and she hopes that her little brother was in a safe place. Then she saw a car coming, and when the doors of the car opened, she saw something that was thrown away in the ground. She was surprised when it was Chris who was in the ground. Then she heard laughter coming from the car before the car went away. Nina quickly held Chris in her arms, and her little brother was brutally beaten and his clothes was ripped apart. "Chris, what happened?" she exclaimed, while holding the small body of his brother. Nina at me to play," said Chris while trying to speak to Nina. Nina tried to control something that was screaming inside. Over and over again, she felt that she needed to control her anger. Nina quickly took him to the hospital. Nina called her mother and informed her what happened to Chris. Her mother quickly went to the hospital, and the doctor told him that he has internal bleeding and swollen wounds was found in his body. The mother of Nina began to cry, but Nina just kept quiet to the situation. She wanted to avoid hurting someone just for revenge. The next day, Chris was released from the hospital, but the doctor told him to rest for 3 weeks. Nina didn't go to school because she wanted to take care of her little brother, and she would tell Chris some stories that would help him by making sure he would take some medications. Nina went to school again, and she received a new note, which read, "I'm sorry about your brother. I hope he recovers. You must never think you're alone. I'm here. I'll be your friend." Nina suddenly blushed after reading it. She checked the letter again but didn't find a signature. Weeks has passed and the arrival of school's picture day arrived. Nina was ready for the picture. She wore a short black skirt, black stockings with deep red stripes, a sleeveless t-shirt that has black and blue stripes, and a bloody red ribbon in her long ponytail hair. But she felt that something was missing. She looked in her closet and she sees her favorite purple hoodie, which reminded her of Jeff the Killer's hoodie. So she put it on. She went downstairs and she sees her little brother waiting in the stairs. They both left the house and said goodbye to the mother. The siblings went to school, but this time they went to the bus to avoid meeting the trio again in the road. When they arrived in the school, they saw the trio. Claudia, Malcolm, and Yoni are walking in the hallway. They seem to be searching for someone. But Nina was aware that the trio are searching for her and her brother Chris. The siblings decide to stay away from the hallway and must avoid being seen by them. The day passed quickly, but unfortunately, the trio found them. Nina felt that she was being followed. When she turned to face her back, she received a punch in the face and fell to the ground. Then she saw her brother. He was caught in the arms of Malcolm. Nina tried to get up, but she received another punch in the belly. She fell back to the ground as she looked up. She saw Claudia. "At last, I found you, bitch," said Claudia while standing in front of Nina. "This is my revenge for attacking me last time," she said while pulling a gun. "I don't want to fight you," Nina said while trying to stand up. Claudia immediately shoots Nina using her gun, but Nina quickly reacted to it and she avoided the bullet. Nina stood up and ran as fast as she could to an abandoned house nearby. It was locked inside, so she climbed up to the stairs. The trio tried to shoot her with a lot of bullets, but they couldn't successfully shoot her. Nina went inside the bathroom and she was trapped there. She wanted something to defend her. "Nina, are you going to stay there? Did you forgot at what I did to your little brother, you idiot?" Claudia shouted from outside of the abandoned house. Nina suddenly felt a combination of hatred and anger, and that need to kill someone. Nina looked around the room and she saw an iron rod. A twisted smile formed on her face, and she took the iron rod and left the room. She quickly dodged the bullets that hit Yoni through the head, releasing a stream of blood. Some of the blood went onto Nina's face, and there was something that changed her. Something broke. Like a thin thread had broken. That thread that divides sanity from insanity. Malcolm and Claudia took a few steps back. Nina turned to the direction, showing a psychotic smile. Maybe even Chris shiver with fear. Making even Chris shiver with fear. Claudia tried to run along with Malcolm, but Nina hit Claudia in the head. She fell down, and Malcolm decided to release Chris from his hands. But Nina didn't stop the violence. She attacked Malcolm in the head a lot of times and making his head full of crimson blood. Claudia tried to get her gun in the ground, but Nina prevented her. Nina pointed her iron rod to Claudia. Nina! Do you feel good? Chris said, as he felt afraid from his big sister. Nina turned her face to him with a little more relaxed look, but she didn't stop smiling. Do I feel good? I feel great. My prince, let's go home, Nina said to her little brother. Nina and Chris returned home. Her mother saw Nina with full of blood, so she quickly went to her room. Nina grabbed her laptop and wrote a note that perhaps no one will ever read. It was midnight. The mother of Nina and her brother were sleeping. However, Nina could not sleep, so she got up. She looked in the mirror and smiled and twisted away. She went downstairs and she was ready to do the craziest thing in her life. Nina walked into the kitchen. She drank a bottle of vodka and put it on the table. Then she started to search for a bottle of bleach in the cabinets. But she didn't found any bleach. Where is the bleach? Nina groaned as she looked for it. Did you look for these? Nina heard a voice behind her. She turned around and she was surprised to find a guy at the entrance of the kitchen. He was holding a bottle of bleach. The boy had an extremely pale skin, his hair was black, and he had a disturbing smile. Ah, you're Jeff the Killer, Nina said. I have been observing you for a while. I think you have become a killer like me. Jeff said. You're right, so I need that bottle of bleach, Nina said. Let me help you, Jeff said as he opened the bottle and poured the bottle of bleach in Nina's head. Then Nina felt another liquid running through her head. She looked up and she saw Jeff had a matchbox in his hand. Nina smiled at him. What are you waiting for? Do it, Nina said with a passion. Jeff grinned and he threw the burning match in her face. Go to sleep, Jeff said as Nina's face began to catch on fire. The flames started to spread around Nina's face and she screamed loudly. It was very painful for her and she looked around a bit, but Jeff disappeared. Nina collapsed on the floor and she saw her mother and brother quickly going downstairs. Both of them immediately used a bucket of water to put out the fire, but when the fire on her face was gone, her mother called the ambulance, but a lot of neighbors came to the house since they heard Nina scream. Nina fell unconscious when they put her on the stretcher and she was taken to the ambulance. Among the neighbors, there was a boy that has black hair, pale skin, and has green eyes. His height is slightly higher than Nina, and the boy looked at her with some concern, but he doesn't know how he can help her. The boy watched as they put Nina in the ambulance. Nina woke up after being unconscious in the ambulance. She tried to move on her own, but the bandages prevented her from moving. Suddenly, a nurse came in for her mother and her little brother. It'll be better if you stay still. You shouldn't move around, said the nurse. Her mother and little brother came to her and encouraged her that it's going to be okay. After 1 month recovering in hospital, the doctor decided that it's time to take off the bandages on her head. Her mother and her little brother were anxious to see her face, but luckily, her face was kept intact and it was not entirely damaged. Well, Miss Nina, the burns were not severe. You still have most of your facial structure, including your nose, but if the fire on your face kept burning, your face will suffer great damage. The doctor said while removing the last bandage on her face. When the last bondage was finally removed, Nina's mother was terrified of what she saw while her little brother was hiding behind her mother. What? What is it? Nina said while she is getting up from the hospital bed. She ran towards the bathroom and she looked herself in the mirror. Her face, it was different from before. Her skin had turned completely white. Her hair used to reach on her knees, but now it's on her back. Her skin was very soft, like a marshmallow. But her family was very surprised at her new face. Sister, Chris said while hugging Nina. You still look as beautiful as before, Chris said, but the child knew that he lied to his big sister because he actually felt afraid from her sister's disturbing face. Oh, Chris, you're so nice, Nina said while looking at him that way. So disturbing. But I want to be more beautiful, Nina shouted. Nina's strange behavior confused her mother and her little brother, but it also made the doctor confused at the girl's behavior. This face is perfect. Oh, my dear Jeff, you gave me this beautiful face, the girl continued shouting. Doctor, is my daughter okay? Nina's mother asked the doctor. Well, usually things go well after a lot of resting, but if her mental health doesn't improve, I'll give her a psychotherapy, the doctor said. I understand, Nina's mother said. Nina's mother grabbed Chris's arm. We have to go now, Nina's mother said. Sure, Nina said while looking her face in the mirror. The nurse handed her clothes, which is her purple hoodie, with a short black shirt, black stockings with deep red stripes. Nina dressed up and left the hospital. She went home with her family, and she doesn't know that she had become a monster that would kill anyone. They came to the house, and Nina kept smiling in a disturbing way. Then she noticed a boy in one of the windows of the house. He had black hair and has green eyes. The boy was watching her, but he quickly disappeared. That night, Nina's mother woke up after hearing a sobbing of a girl. Her mother gets up from her bed and she wanted to find the source of the loud noises she heard. She walked quickly and she saw the door of her daughter's room was open. She went inside the room and the room was very dark, and she turned on the lights. Then Nina's mother saw something terrible at her daughter's room. Nina kept stabbing a lifeless body of a girl. She kept stabbing her with a kitchen knife while smiling. Her intestines and internal organs was removed by Nina and put on her bed. Her entire clothes were stained with blood, and she stared at the ceiling. She used to bully me at school, Nina said, as she kept staring at her eyes to the ceiling. Mommy, I'm becoming more beautiful, she exclaimed as she turned her head to her mother. Her face was really bad. Her smile was shocking after her, and her eyes were very wide open. I get tired of being worried. I get tired of being sad and suffer all the time. Now, I'll smile always, and people will always see my beautiful face. This is the face that Jeff gave me. Am I beautiful, Mama? Nina asked her mother. Nina's mother could not help but take a few steps back, shaking her head. No, Nina, you've become a monster. You have killed someone. Nina's mother started running. Nina quickly followed her mother. Killing people when they run is funny, Nina said as she followed her mother. Nina's mother tried to run at Chris's room to wake him up, but when she was just about to reach the knob of the door of his room, Nina quickly stabbed her mother's skull with a knife, and her mother immediately fell down to the ground. I'm very kind of sad that Mom doesn't believe I'm beautiful. How sad. Nina said while pulling the knife out of her mother's head. Chris woke up in his room and he felt he was in danger and he was scared. Nina slowly opens the door, revealing her shadow. When Chris realized that it's his sister, he took his sheets off to see his sister. But when she saw his sister as holding a knife, Chris became scared again and he snuggled his pillow. Chris, Nina said in a whispery tone. Then Nina asked her little brother a question. Am I beautiful? Nina asked him. Chris stayed quiet as he held tightly of his pillow. Oh, come on, Chris. I didn't do anything bad, Nina said. She hides her hands in her back while crossing her fingers. It's a sign that she was lying to her little brother. You know, I feel much better now. Let's start a new life. Would you come with me? Nina said as she gets closer to Chris. Her little brother Chris nodded at her. Oh, good boy. If you want to join me, just go to sleep, my prince. Nina kicked the front door of the house while carrying her little brother on her back. Chris was dead. His dead body was smiling, that looks very innocent, but his eyes was wide open, that makes him look like he's still alive. But in reality, he is already dead. He was covered in blood and has multiple stabs. Nina took a few steps at the entrance and she slowly looked at her little brother. Chris, I'll kill more people and make them all asleep, Nina said, as she put down her little brother in the ground. Then she walked away to the streets. Okay. So that was Nina the Killer. That story. The story was something. That's all I can say. Don't get me wrong. I understand why people gravitate towards Jeff the Killer because he is the kind of like one of the faces of creepypastas and all that stuff. But that story was just kind of like beat by beat the same as Jeff. If you know what I'm talking about. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't as bad. But like if you heard me, like this story, I personally did not try to fumble up multiple words though. But like the way it was written, I definitely tell that some girl who had a crush on Jeff wrote it. And it was very inconsistent though because it'll be talking about Chris, right? But then they'll use her for Chris. Like, that's the pronoun, I think, or whatever the fuck. And it was just hard to read. But yeah, that was Nina the Killer. So, if you haven't heard Nina the Killer, ever heard of the creepypasta before, now that you have. Now you finally heard it. So, you know, hopefully you all enjoyed this video. I had a semi-decent time reading this story. And, yeah. So, I don't have anything else to say, you know, again, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and, you know, also subscribe. If you want me to read any certain creepypastas, let me know, because I'm always up to reading creepypastas. I usually just find one and just read it, and then clip it, ship it, and, yeah. Also, I have a goal for getting a PC down below, so, you know, if you want to check it out, you know, go down below, and, if you want to donate, you know, feel free to do. They're not mandatory, but I thought I should mention it because, you know, if I can get a PC, I can actually edit my videos, so it won't be as bad anymore. But, yeah. So, links down below, other good stuff. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see for more. I have a giant playlist of creepypastas, r/nosleep, and all that good stuff. And, yeah. So, I will keep you guys here no longer, so I do want to say thank you guys so much for watching. You all mean so much to me. Thank you for being here. And, yeah, it's been Jenky. I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone. I'll be with you guys. Goodbye.